Alright, the Lakers continue to be the Thunder's kryptonite, and last year, it was through their size advantage with Ant, but now there's an even bigger problem they still haven't solved called Luka. In last year's series against the Mavs, the Thunder paid for basically blitzing him the entire time, so in this game, they decided to red more, but that just led to him frying their bigs, and it was no different for Austin. Even when they tried to hedge at times, that didn't work, because the big either couldn't recover to their man or was creating a 2 on the rock situation, so there was always an advantage to exploit, and one of them was getting a bucket or creating one every time. I wouldn't even say it was an effort issue, because a lot of those shots were tough, and the others making just as many of theirs only made it look worse, but at least they managed to force turnovers throughout, especially in transition, so they minimized a good amount of run-up opportunities. They even stagnated the Lakers' offense in the second half, but the game was over by the end of the first half, so those stops didn't amount to anything, and that stagnation was really more about Braun managing the game. All he did was matchup hunt to either pick on a smaller shit to milk the clock non-stop, and when he wasn't doing that, he was doing the opposite by pushing a rock to find the others for a quick bucket, but a lot of it was because of the Thunder willing to sell on Luka. Braun couldn't just continue picking his moments to play bully ball the way he did in the first half when Luka and Austin were rolling, so he basically had to control their offense, and managed to generate just enough points to maintain their lead till the end. But even if he didn't, their defense would have carried him, because they did not ever let up on that end of the floor, and that end was arguably more impressive. They were reading everything from the start, and all of it was clean, so that forced the Thunder to play ones, because Shai or Dub couldn't go to that two-man game with Zay. Shai doesn't really need a screen to get his, so he was still getting quick buckets coming down the court, and was still able to create off his gravity whenever he collapsed the defense, but he didn't have help, because Dub struggled to be effective without Zay's screens. He couldn't buy a bucket on his ones, especially at the rim, so he was fortunate to have at least gotten the whistle. And if this trend continues into the playoffs, they're going to have the same issues from last year, because they can't just rely only on Shai's shot and playmaking in big matchups. But as bad as this trend is for the Thunder, it's a really good sign for the Lakers, because their defense is continuing the right trajectory, and is showing in all aspects. Every player is manning up to keep the first line intact, but even if there is a breakdown, there's always bodies on that second line, so they don't give up anything easy in the paint, and they're giving multiple efforts in a scramble to still take away the deep ball. All of that is just effort, but it's obvious their communication is even better, because it's rare to see those messed up Reds from earlier in the year, and they help the helper, so there's always a player covering for one another once one of them makes a rotation. When the trade happened, I was expecting their defense to take a big dip without the luxury of Ant cleaning up their breakdowns, but maybe that was a blessing in disguise, because with Luka, it's forced all of them to really lock in on that end, and that's obviously benefited them so far. Just watch the tape.
Little mid-range jumper's not going to get the bounce, and there is Jordan Goodwin.